Well, hello there, YouTubers and Facebook family. We're here at Denny's Restaurant in Escondido, California this afternoon with Miss Debra Ligon Morris, daughter of the legend, the
Yay!
trailblazer, the pioneer, or whatever you want to call him, the great Willie Joe Ligon, better known to lots of people as simply Joe or Boss Man.
Boss
Hello,
man,
hello, Debra. How are you today?
I am blessed today. I am happy to be here. I am grateful for another opportunity um, to this year share about Joe Ligon and his many accomplishments. We are thankful to Denny's for allowing us the time and space to do this interview, to the sheriff, Mr. Elder Leander Williams, who for the third year now has given me an opportunity to share about Dad and his accomplishments, but not only that, as a father, as a man, and just some facts about him, and just grateful to, continue to let the legacy of Daddy go on, encourage some people through the music, which he's going to do in a later time. Please listen in and hear some of the wonderful music that has been made starting from 1960 when they went professional, and even before then, 55 years plus of amazing gospel music, 3 Grammys, so many dubs, stellar, any awards you can mention, over 26 albums or projects. We are just thankful for the life and the legacy of Mr. Willie Joe Ligon. Mr. Ligon was born October 11th, 1936, in a small rural town in Troy, Alabama. Even at that time, he realized that he loved to sing, and in talking to my aunts, who are my dad's sibling, they said Daddy always sang. His grandfather was a pastor, and Daddy attributes his first singing publicly to the little old church in Troy, which is still there, and we used to visit whenever we would go home for the family reunion. So we are thankful for his life. Who knew from there he would stop in Detroit, later come to Los Angeles and join up with some other amazing singers who would go on and make history, being the first to do so many things. They are trendsetters, they are groundbreakers, and we just love the music, the ministry, and the man, Mr. Willie Joe Ligon, my dad.
Wow. I'm blessed to have been able to have a YouTube channel and also a broadcast. And when I have something, I plan to use it. So we're going to do probably at least 7 hours worth of broadcast music from the Mighty Clouds of Joy on our YouTube.
7 hours, that's major. That is major.
And we'll do that on our YouTube channel, and on our PGGM broadcast, we only have allocated 2 hours, so we'll kind of condense that down. And if everything goes according to plan, on his birthday, we will premiere the 7-hour plus broadcast, and then on Saturday the 12th, we will do the PGGM broadcast, and we'll feature 2 hours worth of his music. So, what I want to ask you today, what age did you realize that your dad was a world-renowned gospel quartet, not just singer, but influence? Because so many groups down through the years have patterned a lot of their performances after the Mighty Clouds of Joy.
Well, actually, Dad left home when I was about 5 and maybe 6 years old to sing professionally. When I was younger, they rehearsed at our house, and they were just, we see them locally. But actually seeing him on TV and, different things like that, hearing them on the radio, and it's so amazing because things were in black and white on TV. They used to have the gospel hour that came on Sunday morning while we were getting, ready for church, and people would call and say, your dad is on TV. So that was amazing for me. But before that, he was just Dad, and it was just the guys. It was, Uncle Johnny, and it was the Hightower brothers, Papa and Sugar playing guitar. It was Reverend Clarence Deborah was my godfather. It was artist Turnbow. It was just, the guys that would meet at our house, and they would just sing all the time. So singing was just what they did. I did not realize that he was really a star, because to me he really kind of wasn't a star until I started going to award shows and stuff like that. He was just daddy who loved to sing. And not only was I a daughter, I was also a big fan of the Mighty Clouds of Joy. But just going at 5 years old, sitting on the second row, we were never allowed to sit on the front row. That's a whole nother subject. But just watching them sing, and I would be like, wow, because hearing from rehearsal to the professional performance, the Clouds, their steps, their style, the suits and the choreography and, the harmony. One thing I loved about the Clouds was Daddy was Daddy, but the choreography that the Clouds had and the harmony that they had just could not be touched even at that time. I loved it, and I love it still today.
I think that anyone who's ever been influenced by the Clouds will never be able to say that they grew tired of their music. How was your dad when he was not on stage, when he was just, I noticed that you've always called him just Daddy. How was he when he was just Daddy?
Well, when he wasn't on stage, he was just Daddy, bossy, and telling you what to do, getting in your business and that kind of stuff, telling you what he think you should do. But, Daddy was always singing, whether he was sitting at the table or whatever. If he heard a song, he was singing it. He would be rehearsing in his mind, trying to remember the words to something he was going to record. Everything about Daddy was music, as long as I can ever remember. Our best times actually were in Troy, Alabama, where we would go home for the family reunion. Those were the times I saw him more relaxed than anywhere, anytime in his life. He would just really relax. We would go back and see where the house was that he lived in. We would go back to the little church that he talks about in some of his songs, and the school that he went to was right next door. My grandparents, his parents, are buried behind that old church that he talks about. We would go and see the graves. And for many years, there was no headstone. And I remember the year we went back, and Daddy said, they need a headstone. And the family got together and put gravestones on my grandmother and grandfather's grave. But at home, he would just be himself. And that probably was the most I ever, saw him relax anywhere.
Now, I asked you this question once before, and I kind of laughed at the response. When you were growing up as a lady, what words of wisdom did your dad give you when you grew up?
Well, the words of wisdom he gave me, I did not take honestly, because what he said is you cannot date a quartet singer, which you know that I did marry one twice, not just once.
Right.
But Daddy loved Marvin, my husband, and it's so amazing because if you know our story, you know that we recently remarried after being apart for over 30 years. And it's so amazing that before Daddy passed, the last time he came to California, we had an opportunity to tell him, Daddy, Marvin and I are going to remarry. And he said, that's good because that is your husband. And he always loved him. But that was his thing. He wouldn't let me even talk to nobody on the road. I couldn't look at him. They couldn't look at me. And that was basically, his advice. Daddy was not a kind of hands-on dad. And I said this before in another interview, I think, with Miss Dana Lynn. Daddy in his older years said to me, he said, Debra, I need to apologize to you because I have not been the best father. He said, but I didn't know nothing about kids. He said, by the time I was 21 years old, I had 4 daughters. And, he said, I just kept singing. Then I had some more daughters. He said, I never knew about parenting and I never learned about parenting. And honestly, we all knew that. And we just still knew that he was destined to do what he did. That was his dream. And very few people get to realize the dream they have as a child. So, we loved him in spite of, because we just enjoyed seeing him do, what he did.
Now, I have seen you in attendance on several projects where the Mighty Clouds of Joy were on DVD. How was it being able to travel across country to go to different venues to see them perform and to look at the reaction of the audiences there?
It was like a dream for me. I mean, it's a life I stepped into, a life I was kind of born into, actually, not one I chose. It kind of chose me. Um, because at age 15, they started letting me fly and by myself. And other than that, I could only see Daddy like twice a year when they came to Los Angeles. Once I was able to fly and be on the road, it was fun, not just with Daddy, but with all the Clouds. I loved them all. Michael Cook was very special to me. Uncle Johnny, Uncle Mo, Elmo, all of them were just precious. To me, they were uncles, and they were uncles until they left here. Uncle Richard, who was the last Cloud standing of the originals, is still an uncle. And, they looked out for me or whatever, but I love gospel music, so I love watching them. But one thing I love is Daddy valued my opinion. He would say, Debra, we going to sing a new song. Tell me how you like it. And sometimes I liked it and sometimes I didn't like it. Or I would say, Daddy, I don't know. I think you need to do this or do that. And he would, well, I don't know. But he would sometimes take my advice, and that let me know that, he believed in my opinion of gospel music. I remember they were on EMI Gospel, and they were the first quartet signed. And at the time I went to the live recording, they were asking me about the music, and I was like, oh, I don't know, Daddy, because he was having such a hard time. It was not quartet, so you had to come in kind of on the offbeat, and Daddy was an amazing singer, but, beats and coming in on time was kind of not his strong suit, and everybody knew that. But one of the guys from the record label asked me, he said, so how do you like this project? And I remember Uncle Zach Glickman said, you shouldn't ask Debra because she's going to tell you the truth. And I said, well, sir, honestly, the music is great, but it's kind of not my dad. It's kind of not what I'm used to hearing him sing. I said, if you notice he's having a hard time, getting his part and coming in on beat. And he said, well, we think it's going to be, a great project. And it was a good project. But to me, it was like something that the record label mostly wanted, and not, anything that I think Daddy would have chosen for himself. I think at that time they were trying to get them to do more of a crossover, mainstream crossover type stuff. And as you know, they did contemporary before it was cool. Daddy always said that. We did contempt before it was cool. And before there was Kurt Franklin and, any of them, it was Daddy and Time and Ride the Mighty High and Mighty Cloud of Joy. Those songs, when they came out to California, we would go to Hollywood, and I was barely old enough, probably wasn't old enough really to be in the club. We would go to the Whiskey A Go-Go, and we would go to the Roxy in Hollywood. And Daddy and them would be singing those songs, and people would be dancing and drinking and smoking to the Clouds music. And I was like, how wow is that? The music was good, but, Daddy caught a lot of flack from his traditional fans. And he wasn't really that comfortable doing it either, even though I think it was profitable for them. And I remember him saying, we got to go back to our traditional roots, which is what they did on the following project. But they were gospel daredevils. They took chances, and the colors they wore, and they patterned their steps after the Temptations. And I just was looking back even now as I prepared for the interview and some other stuff that I'm going to do on Happy Birthday on Friday, Daddy. Happy Heavenly Birthday. October 11th is your day. And we still continue though it's been almost 3 years, we continue to honor you, and we continue to celebrate the many accomplishments and groundbreaking things that you did, the White House and Carnegie Hall, the Apollo, and I remember we went to Arsenio Hall and BET celebration of gospel, and just so many things that they did that make it possible for quartet groups to do it now.
Right. You mentioned something that I thought of a parallel as well when you mentioned that they pattern their steps and things after the Temptations, and I thought that to me, I think a partial demise in the popularity within the black community of the Temptations was when they brought them out to Los Angeles, and the label tried to get them to do more mainstream crossover type of songs, and
But they did it. They didn't try to get them to do it. They
Yeah.
actually, and that's a very popular project. That project was very, very popular, but his fan base was mainly the
No.
church, and they couldn't, no, they
Right.
couldn't accept it.
Right. Now, you are a member of a club that I'm fortunate to have known both of you very closely, and I talk to you almost daily, and I talk to her almost daily. I'm speaking of Judy Cheeks.
Yeah.
You and Judy,
sister.
I called you guys members of the Daughters of the Legends Club.
Oh my God.
How does that work when you guys? Because I see you guys meet every now and then when you're
We
out on the
do,
road.
and you know what? I'm going to be meeting up with her soon, as a matter of fact. At least we're trying to do that. It's just so amazing because our dads were very different, but my dad loved, Julius Cheeks and Reverend C.L.
Yes.
Franklin were Daddy's mentors and his idols, and Daddy I called it preaching up a song. Daddy, everybody said you're supposed to be a preacher. I'm not supposed to be a preacher, but Daddy would preach up a quartet song.
Yes, he would.
And he got that from his godfather, who was Reverend C.L. Franklin, the father of Aretha Franklin. But his song stylings, he loved Julius Cheeks. And I was so honored through a mutual friend, Robin Ritchie, that said, you need to know Judy. You need to know Judy, and Judy needs to know you. And, I knew of her but did not know her. And he hooked us up on a 3-way. And we've just been sisters, ever since. And sometimes when we get together and we start talking about our dads and our childhood and something, we just really, really laugh, because it is because of them that we just didn't have ordinary childhood. We just, but also through that, I'll never forget going with Daddy to sing for Johnny Cochran's funeral. And Daddy was just so jazzed that even before he passed, Johnny Cochran had informed his family that he wanted Daddy to sing. And he called and he said, Debra, Johnny Cochran's family called me to sing at his funeral. It was at Los Angeles. And he's like, do you believe that? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, I'm going to be there. They're flying me out there. But, it was things like that, and being able to go to, the BET Awards and, Grammy Awards, and, just be able to say, my dad is Joe Ligon, and they'd be like, oh, okay, come on in, go in the green room and just meet some amazing people in gospel, not only in gospel, because here in Long Beach they did the Blues and Festival, a gospel group always opened up, and I'll never forget that year. B.B. King I got to meet, and Bobby Bland and Ike Turner, and it's just been an amazing life. I would not trade it. And people often ask me, were you ever angry with your dad for not being there, while you were growing up? I was never angry, because I loved watching him do what he did, because he put so much love into singing that there was no way if you took that from him. And he would always say to me, Deborah, once I can't sing, I don't even want to be alive. I don't want to be here anymore, because he felt like he was born to do that. And sure enough, once he could no longer perform to his standard, I think he really just did not care anymore what happened. But just to see him sing, to see things go from rehearsal to performance, Daddy never cared what order he came in. He didn't care who was on the program. If it was 13 groups, if he was number 13, he didn't worry about it. He reminded me a lot of Doc McKenzie, who I also love so much. He would sit in service, not outside, and he would watch everybody else, and he would encourage everybody else. And when it was his turn, he just did what he did. You know, we would go to the Waffle House, which is, I love the Waffle House right now, because that's where all the singers went. And he would congratulate, man, you was in the house tonight. Man, I like that new song. Or, man, you should try this. Or he loved the younger groups. He encouraged them. If you look on almost any younger group's page, they have a picture with Joe Ligon, because he took the time to talk to them, to mentor them, to give them some tips on things, even to correct some things, but it was always done in love. So, I mean, that's just what he did. I can only maybe remember Daddy being maybe at my 50th birthday celebration, and I'm 63.
Mm-hmm.
He flew in, and he surprised me, and you best believe it, because I cannot remember any of the rest of my life. I would have to call him and say, Daddy, you know what today is? Let me see. It is, I'm like, it's my birthday. It surely is. He never would remember. He never would remember. But I never really tripped on that, because if you print out their song catalog, which I did today, can you imagine how many songs he had to remember in his lifetime?
Right.
How many verses to how many songs? That is, I mean, it takes major brain power to even retain that many songs. And you know, he would sometimes get it wrong, but one thing, he was a master of disguising it. You would never know. The group would know, but nobody else would. So it's just been an amazing life being one of the daughters. And I always say that because, as you guys know, my dad has 8 daughters. So it is just amazing just to be just one of the legacy of Joe Ligon.
Now, how many of those 8 daughters sing? I know that you sing, and I know Clarice sings. So how many
Clarice can really sing. I have a sister in Mississippi, Erica, that can sure enough sing. Some of the rest of them, I'm not actually sure. But, I mean, people, the expectation when you're Joe Ligon's daughter is that you're going to squall and do all that. I'm not going to do all that. That
Right.
never was my thing. That never was. And I tell people, I'm a gospel cheerleader. I love gospel singing. I love supporting gospel singing, because I realize it takes support. And as people will tell you, I will show up at a show. James and Kelly Williams, Lil J and TSB, congratulations on your new music, by the way. I'm one that I need to pay. I used to pay to go see Daddy, because not only am I a Quartet daughter, I'm a Quartet wife. It takes money to move a music ministry. You have to get your
Right.
clothes clean. You have to eat. You have to travel. You have to take home some money to your family, because if you've been gone for 2 or 3 months and you come home with $50, you know, that's not going to be sweet. But I'm just saying, we invest in everything, and I believe we need to invest in this music. It is important. It is life-changing. Not only does it sound good, but it is changing the lives of people that are hopeless. And I tell people all the time, when Daddy says that people have come up to him and said, you know, your music saved my life. You know, your music, I lost my job. My wife left me. You know, so many things. I want to commit suicide. I have heard people come to the record table in tears and say that to Daddy. I have heard people say that. So the power in gospel music is like no other. The blues going to make you even sadder, even though the stories are cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to encourage you. It's not going to give you hope like Quartet music. There's no music like it. Nowhere, nowhere, nowhere. So this music is worth saving. The artists that do it earnestly from their heart and for the right reason, I applaud, I support, and it's so amazing that just today there was a flyer on Facebook with The Mighty Clouds of Joy, return of some of the Mighty Clouds of Joy. I am elated. I am elated. People ask, well, how do you feel? The music and the legacy of the Clouds can't go on unless somebody is singing. We
Right.
the daughters, we don't have a group. We are part of the legacy of Joe Ligon. But the legacy of gospel music can only go forward if someone is singing the music. I love so many of these guys. And my whole thing is I have personal favorites off stage. But as far as the group is concerned, whoever going to get together and promote the music in a positive way, celebrate the legacy the way Daddy would have been proud of, I'm all for it. And anything that I can do to further it, all of them know. All they have to do is call me.
Right. Now I want to just stop there for a second and give credit to another person that does a great deal for keeping Quartet alive. And I'm talking about Devin Antoine, the
Oh, my
Quartet
God.
man.
Love
He
him. I love him.
keeps
I
Quartet
love him.
on all levels open.
I don't know
And
how old he must be because some of the stuff that he shared have to be older than him.
yeah,
But
yeah,
he has some classics, and I love the fact that he does share, and it keeps us grounded in gospel music. I love the music era that I grew up in, not just in quartet, but even in R&B. The music was it just felt good, and it made you feel good. It was more in the lyrics than in the music. A lot of things now is highly technology and not
right,
so
right.
much in a message. Quartet songs then had messages, and even today, Bob Marvich, who is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, I love him, had shared with me, one of the first songs that Dad did was Build Me a Cabin in Glory. When I played that CD that he sent me, that song still sounds good, and it's like 50 years later. So I just think that people should create stuff that's lasting, people that, stuff that people can listen to and be encouraged, even years later.
Right. Now, another break here for a bit of I won't say commercial, but I'd just like to say to all of you on YouTube and all of you on Facebook who are going to listen to this 7 hours plus tribute to Joe Ligon,
I'm going to
please,
listen.
please do not be a download pirate. This music, whether it's current, old, or what, we need to preserve it. And in order to preserve it and to preserve the legacy, go to your authorized digital download stores and purchase this music. Don't just
Right.
hook up your tape recorder and try to copy what I'm playing.
Duplicate it. Right.
So, yeah, just don't be a download pirate. Let's keep the memory alive, but let's share it in the proper way.
And
Now,
again, I can't thank you enough for even just taking the time. You reminded me, okay, October's almost here, and honestly, my dad was born on the 11th, my mom was born on the 15th, so, I have dual celebrations for my mom and dad, but I would never let a year go by without honoring Dad and honoring the music and all the groundbreaking things that he did in his lifetime.
yeah, and his birthday is 8 days before mine, so we share the same birth month.
Wow.
Now, in talking about the musical family, now I have met his brother Clarence on many occasions,
Yes.
and I've heard him sing. At least I don't consciously ever think that I met his other brother Thomas. How many other members of the family that are singers?
Well, I think everybody could sing because when we went to Alabama, everybody did sing. But, when Joe Ligon is your brother, it's kind of intimidating. My Uncle Clarence is a beast, even now. And it's so funny because people used to say whenever someone would leave the group, why don't you go get your brother? And Daddy'd be like, oh, no, because Uncle Clarence was kind of a little competition for Daddy. He gave Daddy a run for his money. But all of that, Daddy was the oldest of his brothers and sisters. So, and Daddy also not only was a singer, but as he sang and made money, he was highly responsible for bringing his brothers and sisters to California, one or two at a time, and their families. So, they loved him as an elder brother, not only as a singer. He he was that big brother. He was that big brother, and he took that very seriously in the family. Everybody wanted to be like him, but nobody wanted to be more than him because honestly, I mean, the Who and Quartet is like more. And I mean, there are some people that can show nothing. But as I today Google just the song catalog and just songs by the Mighty Clouds of Joy, it is just amazing that one group, first of all, the longevity, and I know the Swannies just celebrated 80 years, but, for Daddy, just 55 years being the primary lead singer, it's just amazing and mind-boggling that you could even last that long singing as hard as Joe Ligon sang. And he reminded me again, like Doc McKenzie, he's never going to shortchange you. Daddy would get to a program and sometimes they wouldn't have the money and they would be like, they don't have the money, so what we gonna do? We gonna say. I don't care if it was 15 or if it was 15,000. He was gonna sing with the same energy. And, I love that about him because he just loved singing that much. He also loved his fans. He always took time to take pictures and sign autographs and sell his own records at the record table as long as his health would, permit it. And I think that's part of the reason he was so beloved and so loved in that he took the time to meet and greet his fans. It reminds me a lot of Mr. Lee Williams, who we still love to this day. And I just think that goes far when you're a singer, when you are not have a big ego and you're humble. George Dean also is one of the most humble men that I know as well, that you're humble and your spirit is not that you're bigger than people because you have a gift, because God gave you the gift. You didn't buy it somewhere, you didn't purchase it. So, and the one thing about all of our gifts, no matter what they are, God gave them to us to be a blessing to others. They are not for us to, harbor and to make other people feel small.
Well, your dad is right now a part of one of the greatest quartets in history, and that's the quartet that they sing up in heaven.
Yes.
As he looks down on us, what do you think he would say to the young groups coming up today?
The same thing I just said. Stay humble. And George D says, and humble is the way. The word, the Bible says, humble is the way. A lot of singers now, I go a lot of different places, and honestly, people will tell you, if you meet Debra Ligon Morris, Debra Bernice Ligon Morris, I'm named after my grandmother proudly, my dad's mom, you cannot be uppity and stuck up and arrogant because it's a name, it's a title, it's not even who you are. But, one of the songs that's on my song list that Daddy recorded, I think Jerry Peters wrote it for him, All That I Am or Ever Hope to Be. They recorded it on
right, I remember that.
On the last project. Daddy had recorded it earlier, and he said at the live recording, I wanted to come back and revisit this song because he realized all that he was just a little country boy from Troy. But everything else that he accomplished in his lifetime was not because of him. The song says, I owe it all.
Yes, sir.
To you, my Lord. That is one of my favorite songs. I love the young groups coming up. I'm not going to call names because I'm going to get in trouble. If I do, I try and support most people that, you can't support everybody. But, again, I just believe that Quartet is in good hands. A lot of the up-and-coming groups now are totally awesome. We are blessed every year to go to Columbia, South Carolina, for Little Roy's All White because singing has kind of dried up in California, unfortunately.
Yes, it has.
And that's very hurtful. But to see the groups that are out there. I get to see them on Facebook or Facebook Live. And a shout out to all the radio angels out there that Devon Womack, this is your weekend. He has the Gospel Premiere Show, and it is in Birmingham, Alabama. Please support that if you're in that area. I have to say about Devon, who is from Los Angeles, he was the first person when Daddy passed to go live and just play back-to-back Clouds music. He did it Facebook Live, and I do believe he was the first one that ever did Facebook Live, and now we have many people doing it. I love that because I would never know about the groups in the Carolinas or in New York or in New Jersey. I would never know about Virginia. I would never know about Judah, who was my nephews, and I love you, Doc Pitts. I would never know about these groups unless angels shared their music and allowed us to buy it. We don't have radio stations, but we also don't have record shops anymore. So, you guys keep us connected.
When you say that we don't have record shops anymore, I was very saddened to find out that there's a record store in Berkeley, California that went into operation the same year that I was born in 1945.
Wow.
This Friday, October the 12th, 2019 is going to be their last day of business.
Yeah, we closed all ours. Dolphins of Hollywood and Tower Records, all of those big, so VIP Records, those were our big stores, especially to buy gospel music. You can't buy gospel music anywhere live unless you go online now. No. And that's sad because everybody is not tech savvy, so they don't maybe have the capability to do so. But whatever it takes by any means necessary,
right?
We need to continue to promote this music, not just the Clouds, not just future Clouds or past Clouds, but I mean up and coming groups. How will they make it if we don't buy the music and support the artists and go to the shows? I think we owe it to gospel music to invest in it.
Right. Now, your cousins in the northern part of the state did a song many years ago that I always like to refer to when some of these quartets think they're all of that. And the song says, it doesn't matter who you are or how well you sing. If you don't know Jesus, you can't make it in.
That's it.
And I wish that a lot of groups would take self out and put God in, because you have the voices, you have the material, but it ain't all about you. It's all about God. Just let the Spirit guide you in your endeavors, in your recordings.
But you know what I honestly believe, and I hear a lot of people are hard on the younger groups now. I'm not kind of like that, because I believe that God can change you while you're singing gospel music. I believe that while you're singing, but not yet where you need to be, because none of us are where we should be, that God can change you while you're ministering a song to someone else. God can touch you. And so I have seen people that were gospel, or people say, oh, Shirley Caesar talks about it. Oh, we used to play church in the backyard, and right. One day the Spirit can sometimes, will sometimes hit you in a song and be life-changing. So I think that our obligation is to pray for them, to encourage them, to maybe say something correctional, but in the right way. Just to let them know, but everybody, I think, is a work in process. Everybody has to evaluate where they are, because honestly, we see people, we don't really know where they are. Some people are big pretenders. You know what I'm saying? Then you can have people, you say, oh, he ain't really got nothing. And they may have the purest heart, because the only real judge is God.
Right.
So it takes a lot of sacrifice to sing gospel music, especially if you don't work. Yes. Now, Daddy, my mom says, your dad did work. Before he left here, Daddy worked at Santa Anita racetrack. Many people don't know that. As a dishwasher. Okay, wasn't no shame in his game because he had kids. But again, once the opportunity, and I think we talked about before, and this is Daddy's story. There are many stories. Daddy's story is he was at a rehearsal, and when he came out here with some fellas, he always called everybody fellas, and the lead singer couldn't quite get the part, and he told him, he said he had somewhere to be. So, can I just show him how it go? He wasn't trying to, upstage
Take over.
who it was, and I still don't know. I maybe need to ask Uncle Richard or Reverend Clarence Devereaux, who the singer was. Once he showed the part, then the person that is credited with actually starting Daddy's professional career and actually mentoring him and showing him the ropes is Brother Adele Goldsmith, who Daddy loved, and he loved Daddy. And from then on, Daddy was, the lead singer, but that was not his aspiration. He just wanted to sing, wherever. But I know it takes much sacrifice to be a gospel singer. You're away from your family. You're not getting a steady check. You get your program. They don't have your money. And, so many things can happen. But again, we pray for all those who have taken this task on and who take it seriously, who are doing it for the right reason, which means to glorify God and to, build the kingdom of God. I just applaud people that do that.
Well, I think we need to wrap this up, or otherwise.
Well, you think so? You told me it was 5 questions. You asked about 20.
I'm just thinking here. So we don't want the interview to be as long as a 7.5-hour broadcast.
When you talk about somebody you love, I told you I had a script that I had wrote out like 4 or 5 pages. But when you talk about somebody you love, you don't need no script because it's from the heart. And what's from the heart definitely will reach the heart. I didn't need to write down nothing when it comes to Daddy.
No. But here's a question that's going to throw you for a loop.
We got another question?
This one is not prepared. This is a spur of the moment.
Oh, my God.
After you retire, when are you going to write your book?
I will tell you, I am in the process of writing the book. The book is started. And it's well on its way, but I have to be satisfied.
That's fine. Because I'm going to tell you, Judy Cheeks wrote a book.
Oh, Judy's book is so awesome.
Fred Willis just wrote a book.
Really?
Yes. I'll have to send you the link to it.
Send me the link. I would love to have it.
His book is awesome.
I love to read. So I read, Erica Campbell of Mary just wrote a book. I have to get it too. But, when you're telling someone else's story, if it was my life, I could easily write it. But when you're telling someone else's life, you have to make sure you represent it well. And you have to make sure that whatever you say is something that's going to help someone else. Because that person is no longer here. But, and you don't want to be long and boring. You want to be interesting. I love Judy's book. I love it. I bought it and then I got it audio so I could just listen to it. But
wait. She has an audio book because she's been telling me she's working on it, but she hasn't really done it.
I think she does.
Because I think it was Robert Ritchie had got her to do like a little snippet of it.
Okay. All right. Well, that may be true.
Okay.
But I think I got it on Kindle, maybe.
Okay.
But then I wanted a real book. I wanted a book. Because I just like CDs. And if Daryl J. Jones is listening, I need you to send me my Swanee Quintet CD.
I talked to Daryl. I think it was Thursday, and he told me that he would be at their anniversary on last Saturday, and that he would be forwarding that music because I specifically asked him to make sure that he had you on his list.
I told him I'll send you the money ahead of time. Big ups to the Swanee Quintet. And see, that's how you continue a legacy. That's how, I
Now,
mean, these young men are following in the footsteps of but I mean, they're doing it their own way with their own flavor, but it's close enough that it sounds like Swanee's. You know what I'm saying? And I
right,
know it's a
right.
delicate mix to get that just right. I
Hmm.
love them. I've only heard them live 2 times. They made a fan out of me. I promise you.
Right. Now I'm gonna give you the title to Fred Willis's book. Fred, if you're listening, send me my check. His book is called The Journey to Genesis,
Okay.
and it is available on Amazon.
You just doing a lot of commercials today, right? I wish
Yeah.
I had a commercial. I don't have no commercials except please listen to
Well, we're
Mr.
gonna give you a
Elderly
commercial
Anderson.
because you do a lot of things in the Los Angeles area. I know that you
Oh,
you do your scholarship
yes,
functions.
I
You
do.
support.
We've
You
done a lot this year
tell us
for
a little
young
bit about
people.
that.
Well, that scholarship originally, while Dad was living, I had It Takes a Village, just because I knew people that needed help with their kids in college and that needed school supplies. We started out like that, and sometimes I cook, sell food, and we do yard sales, we do car wash, we do raffles, whatever. But once Dad passed, I decided to transition the name into the Joe Ligon Legacy Continues because a lot of what I do now, I wanted to be in Daddy. Daddy loved young people. He loved young people. So I renamed it past um, after Joe Ligon. So we have kids in college. I don't share a lot of what I do because a lot of people are just nosy and they're going to talk about you anyway, which I'm now at the point where I really don't care and it's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do. But the first year that I named it after Dad, I did a GoFundMe. And I was unpleasantly surprised that nobody, I asked people for just $10. And I guess they thought the money was for me or whatever. People that I have helped a lot did not even share in that. And I said, okay, God, this is not the way you want me to do this. And God said to me, you know what, you don't have to beg anybody for anything. Because in all the time my daddy sang, he never begged for nothing. So God gives us wisdom and creativity to make the money that we need for the scholarship. I leave it open. Sometimes people just send me a check. When it's back to school time, people know I do school supplies. People donate people on my job, people that I know. Miss Debra, I know you know a family that need this or that. And I just kind of do it that way, and it works out better because I don't want nobody saying that none of Joe Ligon's kids had to beg because I promise you, with all that my daddy did for the kingdom, God's just not going to let us want for anything. So continue to pray for that foundation, and God has given me some wisdom to do some things. Tried to do a concert, folk didn't come out. And I just said, you know what, God, one of my favorite songs, Rest in Peace, Mike Cook, I Love You Forever. Order my
Yes.
steps.
Right.
Order my
Right.
steps. Because
That
if you walk in the steps that God has already ordered, you cannot go wrong.
we appreciate the time that you've given us today, and we're going to ask prayers for you as you drive back home.
Thank you, God.
And we want to
I'm going to
encourage.
need it on this 91 freeway.
I know. We're going to ask everyone to please put out the word that this broadcast will be on YouTube as long as YouTube allows it to stay, so that when people listen to it down through generations, their children can listen to it, their
Right.
grandchildren can listen
Even
to it,
daddy's grandchildren, yes.
and this legacy will be enduring as long as YouTube is an entity, and we hope that it will be around for many, many years because we
Amen,
want
amen,
Joe's
amen.
legacy to go on. I think I have a picture, in my collection, and one of my favorite pictures. It features Joe Ligon, Tommy Ellison, um, Percy Griffin of the Swanee
Wow.
Quintet,
Oh, that was daddy loved him.
and that those guys were there. Those guys were there.
But and honestly, and I know we got to close because my time is up.
I know.
What I loved about that era is the friendship and the kinship that the groups had.
Yes.
They traveled in packages, and that's how I know so many quartet singers, the Clouds and the Keynotes and the Violinaires and Daddy would pick up 3 or 4 younger groups. Daddy would, the
Right.
Williams brothers would be on the package. The Mighty Sons of Glory, Hey Husband, would be on the package. Daddy would give young people. I remember Tutu and the Truettes being, opening and being on the package. Those groups traveled together, and they went from city to city
I was
together.
going to say, they might have been on the package, but when the bus doors opened, you didn't know who was getting off.
No, everybody, and they would ride each other's buses, and we would go and all eat together. Spencer Taylor was someone else, and actually that's one reason I know Bouvier is because he was with his daddy, and I was hanging out with my daddy, and I just love that time because groups were closer and they looked out for each other. And if somebody couldn't get to the program, the Clay, the Graham, Pilgrim
Right.
Jubilees,
Right.
these groups had genuine love for each other, not just on Doc McKenzie, not just on stage, but off stage. And I just think it just benefits us as a quartet genre to come back to that closeness. That way we can help each other.
Yep. Well, my dear, we're going to end this now so that you can get cracking and get back home because I know Mr. Morris is going to want his dinner.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, he will.
However, I'm sure that Ross would like for you to come back by and pick up something you may have missed.
No Ross today. I don't have time. You done took too much of my time. I have no shopping time. You done messed me up today. I got to go straight home. But anyway, let me just say, dear God, our Father, we thank you today for this time of reflection, God, and a time of appreciating the life, the legacy of Mr. Willie Joe Ligon. God, we thank you for his life. We thank you for all the lives that he touched. God, we thank you for his family, far and near. God, we thank you for his fans who held him down for 55 plus years. God, we thank you for all the radio angels that play his music, God. We thank you, not just his music, but play all the gospel music. God, we thank you for people that are in hospitals, God, people in bereavement, God. We ask you to bless those families today. God, we thank you for the sheriff, Elder Leander. God, we thank you for him thinking enough of our family and of our dad to just spend a little time just to allow us just to have a few things to say about his life. God, we thank you for traveling mercy, God, for people that are going to even listen, take the time out of their day to listen to these broadcasts. God, let it be a blessing to somebody. Let it encourage somebody's life. God, we thank you for even our politicians. We ask you to bless this country, God. You know we need it. God, you are still in control of everything that goes on. It is your world, God, because you made it. And God, in all things, we give you thanks, we give you glory, and we give you honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, my friend, I thank you so much for your time. Be blessed, be safe, and traveling mercies on your way home. Well, hello there, YouTubers and Facebook family. We're here today with Debra Ligon Morris on the birthday, which would have been the 83rd birthday of her dad, Willie Joe Ligon. We have just been handed some deflating news that someone, a hater or maybe multiple haters, has denied us the opportunity to upload our tribute broadcast, which was in excess of 8 hours, to YouTube. Debra, what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, I'm going to say the devil is a negative, ugly, bald-head liar. Today is my daddy's day, and I will say that I'm, first of all, very hurt because you worked very hard on that. I did the interview, and it's easy for me to talk about daddy because, that's part of my life. You took the time to get these songs together for Dad's fans to enjoy. And it makes me not sad, because I refuse to be sad today. My daddy lived a good life, a good life. His music catalog speaks for itself. His body of work speaks for itself. His career of 55 plus years definitely speaks for itself. But the fact that somebody, and I'm going to hope that it was YouTube and not some busybody, nosy, no good family member, hater, or just, closet Christian that just did not want to see Daddy's music go forth today to bless the people. We can't bring Joe Ligon back. He's already all right. I promise you that. This music would have blessed masses of people and, increased the following to the Clouds music and let people know about so many songs that I had even forgot about until I started to research them. So for anybody, whoever you are, ma'am, sir, boy, girl, if you are the person that took time out of your nosy schedule to go to YouTube and block this music today, I want you to know, God bless you. That's all I'm going to say. God bless you. We are not deflated. We are not any of that. We are victorious in Jesus' name. This music will stand. This video, God willing, will come out to bless God's people, because that's what it was destined to do. And let me just say, not one dime, not one dime, not one dime. Let me say it one more time. Not one dime was for Debra Ligon Morris. Not one dime was for Mr. Elderly Andy Williams. It was not for profit. It was not going to be sold. It was only going to be shared today in honor of my dad. So whoever did it, if you did it, shame on you. But anyway, Daddy, God bless you. You are already blessed because you're somewhere around the throne, and you are happy walking around heaven. I am blessed to be your daughter. I will forever love you, and to God still going to be the glory. I promise you that. So if you didn't get to listen to the music or the interview, I don't know if they will release it. We are protesting this move. It is wrong. It is not for profit, never going to be for profit. We are protesting it, but you know what? YouTube you some Joe Ligon if you just want to hear him, just in honor of his birthday today. I love you, all the fans and friends, family that have called today to encourage us, his family. And again, all I can say is, Elder Leander, thank you so much. You worked so hard. I feel worse for you than I feel for myself. I feel bad that they put you through this and waited until the last minute to tell you that you cannot air it. But again, Joe Ligon lives in us, and he lives with us, and he will forever be there. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Rest easy, Daddy.
We want to thank you, Deborah, for that. And it's not about me. It's about the legacy that we're trying to keep alive.
A legacy you will never stop. You may block it on YouTube today, but I promise you, you will not win. The devil will not win, because nothing in this was evil. Nothing in this was mean. And, I'm already struggling to get through the day, just getting off my work day, and then have to get this information. I was so looking forward to this. Invited so many people to listen to it. Somebody may be saved by this music. Somebody sitting on their rusty dusty that had too much time decided to, get involved in something that had nothing to do with you. Again, God's going to bless you real good. I promise you that.
Well, I am going to, since this project has been completed, it's not allowed to be aired, I'm going to burn some CDs of this broadcast for your family.
Oh, you shouldn't have never said that, sir.
And I'll get that to you. And I want you to say a prayer on my behalf for your dad when you go out to do what I know you're getting ready to go do, and that's to do your annual balloon release.
Yes, we will be releasing balloons today, because I'm going to tell you, like Fred Hammond said, baby, no weapon formed. You may have formed it today on my daddy's birthday. It won't prosper. It won't prosper.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're going to end this right now, and you go ahead and be safe and have a blessed day in your dad's honor.
I will do that. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.